Reputation, just reputation. That's what I listen to.
Thank you for being on theme. Hold on, Brandon has some nice things to say about me before you wrap.
Have you seen these pants?
No, they're amazing, and my shoes.
I was dressed by wonderful women.
Well, in 2019, I read the book. Couldn't even finish it. I was just crying as I was reading it.
You were crying.
I was in tears, and I just was like, if I could be this touched by Lily Bloom's story, then I can only imagine what this could do for so many people.
The boots were mine.
Love
there's these great Louboutins that are also a close-up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine.
I think it was the intention and the why that I wanted to make the movie and the heart that I try to put in everything that I do.
So the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know.
I heard that Ryan Reynolds wrote a scene for the film. Is that true?
I'm pretty sure that everybody at some point wrote something for the film, made the movie better. The guy's a creative genius.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
I'm literally heading to Target to get my Blake Brown eye shampoo.
It's honestly amazing.
You just released it
Smells
today.
incredible.
I would have had it.
Oh, yeah,
Smells
she has it.
incredible.
Yeah, it's all.
Oh my God, amazing.
I'm wearing it
Thank
on my
you
neck as
so
cologne.
We partnered with our dear friends at No More. It was the only way that I could direct this movie is if I had a group of women specifically behind me who are specialists in this space.
Well,
Thank
you
goodness,
were
so-
teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you
loved
seen
that.
this?
That
I
clip?
actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Just tell me what it was like also collaborating with Blake.
She's a creative force. She's a genius. She was involved in every aspect of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
Is there something about Blake that we don't know, and what was it like working with her?
She had her hands in every part of this production, and everything she touched, she made better.
I don't think people realize how involved she was in this movie. She was extremely involved, and she really made the film better. Everything she touches, she made better.
Yeah, when I think of my involvement in the film, I don't really see that as the thing that I did. I did probably everything else.
We're gonna take a vacation after this. I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
I feel like every single day something new ends up coming out in regards to the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively defamation lawsuits. There is a court hearing that is scheduled on Monday, February 3rd. But before we get to that, let's catch up on everything that is going on. So Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds want a judge to dismiss Justin Baldoni's defamation lawsuit against them. There is a pre-trial conference that is set for Monday, February 3rd. And this conference is supposed to be discussing the gag order request that was filed by Blake Lively. If you don't know anything about that gag order, I did make a video about it, and I'll link that video up here. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds told a federal judge Thursday that they will seek to dismiss Justin Baldoni's defamation lawsuit. Remember, Blake Lively initiated this whole thing, and she filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni for sexually harassing her on set and then retaliating with a smear campaign when she dared to speak up about it. Now, Baldoni and his publicist countersued that Lively defamed them by taking text messages out of context and miscategorizing their interactions. The judge has said he expects to schedule a trial for March of 2026 and asked that the parties to file a plan that would allow for a trial by that date. So at this Monday hearing, the two sides are expected to argue about the extrajudicial conduct of Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Freeman. Lively's lawyers have argued that Freeman is making prejudicial comments in the press, which they say taints the jury pool. Freeman has countered that he has every right to defend his client publicly from Lively's media blitz. So I find this hilarious because this all started with Blake Lively. She's essentially telling them, like, I can file this complaint and have it publicized on the New York Times and completely have this one negative narrative against Justin Baldoni that will ruin his career. And it already has had a negative effect on his career. He's lost out on projects. He's had awards taken from him. So this has already had an effect on his career. But she's essentially saying, I can do that. I can hold the narrative, but you can't. And that's why she wants to place a gag order on Justin Baldoni's lawyer. They're claiming that this is going to taint the jury pool. So essentially she wants the jury to agree with her because it's okay that her expose came out, but nothing can come out to defend Justin Baldoni. Otherwise, that will taint the jury pool. It's so freaking ridiculous when the jury pool was like technically already tainted because of Blake Lively's expose in the New York Times. She's okay with that expose coming out and the jury pool being tainted already by having a negative view of Justin Baldoni, but they can't come out and defend themselves because that will taint the jury pool against Blake Lively. On Thursday evening, Baldoni's side said they want to take Lively's deposition as soon as possible, but they told the judge that Lively's lawyers have indicated that she will refuse to let Friedman, who is Justin Baldoni's lawyer, do the deposition due to unspecified statements made by Mr. Friedman. When have you ever had a choice of who's going to depose you? You never have a choice in that. And this is where I feel like Blake Lively lives in her own little Hollywood world, her own little Hollywood bubble. She has never been told no. And if she has been told no, she will flip it and make it a yes. Like, this just comes off incredibly entitled and privileged. How dare she put this all into motion and then decide, you know what, I'm just going to pick and choose what happens in this case. You don't get to do that. And Justin Baldoni's lawyers agree. Because in this letter, it says, counsel for Miss Lively has made clear that Miss Lively does not want Mr. Friedman to be the attorney who takes her deposition. We are unaware of any situation that would warrant the deposed party to have a choice in which attorney takes her deposition. Parties to litigation simply do not have the right to dictate which of their opponent's attorneys may or may not take their deposition or perform any other aspect of the opposing party's case. Like, absolutely. She's completely mental if she thinks that she gets to pick and choose who gets to talk to her while she's on the stand. Now, I know that she probably in her normal, regular life gets to pick and choose who gets to look at her, who gets to talk to her, who gets to have times with her. I understand that in her normal life, in her regular life of celebrity entitlement, she's able to do that. But this is a court case that she initiated. She doesn't get to do that in a court of law. That's so fucking ridiculous. Well, now since then, even more damaging and incriminating evidence has come out against Blake Lively, saying that she was the conspirator in this whole thing. She conspired with the New York Times to take down Justin Baldoni, and now there is evidence of that. Now, remember, Justin Baldoni is suing the New York Times for $250 million for defamation. And if you don't know anything about that, I did a whole video going over the lawsuit against the New York Times. I'll link it right here. And the New York Times have always maintained the position of, we didn't know about this story until we basically put it out. They've always maintained that position. Well, now evidence has come out, proof showing that they had this story months before it went to print. And the internet is undefeated in this case, because when I went over this entire timeline, and I'll link that video here if you're interested, everybody was saying that all of the negative press and all of the public's negative perception towards Blake Lively was all organic. Once the internet gets obsessed with something, internet sleuths will go in there and find even more damaging material. And I don't think that Blake Lively was used to that. She has a very carefully curated image. You can see that on her Instagram. You don't see anything except for what she wants you to see, right? So she has a very carefully curated image. She's not used to people going and finding all of this stuff. And when she has been involved in a scandal in the past, she's just been able to skate by until now. All of her past scandals are now coming into the light. People are now finding out about them years later, because the internet can see that everything that she is doing and saying against Justin Baldoni is so freaking wrong that the public is deciding, you know what? It's time for Blake Lively to sort of take accountability for everything that she's done in the past. But not only that, take accountability for everything that she's throwing at this man. She's trying to ruin Justin Baldoni's career, and the internet is not having it. So why do I say that the internet is undefeated? Well, over on TikTok, this creator, Gucci Pooj, uncovered something totally damning. Let's listen.
Extremely compelling evidence that Blake Lively actually gave New York Times her complaint before she filed it with the Civil Rights Department. This comment says, "This is great research. I don't suppose anyone has checked the metadata on the images in the New York Times article. You beautiful genius." But it wasn't the metadata where I found the date. It's the fact that New York Times labels their hosted images with dates. And this image, if you follow the images linked in the New York Times article, each image is hosted with its own link. And if we zoom in right here, you can see that says December 16th, 2024, which means that unless New York Times mislabeled the date for this, New York Times had Blake Lively's complaint for at least 5 days before they published the article. And it's not just this one. All of the graphics that they used are hosted like that. This one is dated December 20th, December 20th, December 18th, and then this one is from the 21st. There was no date attached inside the actual metadata, or maybe I'm just not technically advanced enough to be able to find that. Why does any of this matter? Well, because Blake Lively's team are trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team are the first people that leaked this information to the press. And yet somehow on this...
Oh, yeah, that is something that I forgot to say. In Blake Lively's filing, she's claiming that this was all Justin Baldoni's doing. Justin Baldoni got the complaint from Blake Lively, and he's the one that that gave it to the New York Times for this expose, which makes absolutely no sense. Why would you make that public? Why on earth would Justin Baldoni leak it to the New York Times and then the New York Times takes the position to take him down? So he essentially ruined his own career. That makes absolutely no sense, but that is Blake Lively's camp's claim, that Justin Baldoni was the one that leaked her claim to the New York Times. And now this proves that that is wrong.
The 16th of December, they're able to make the headline image. We already knew because of the timeline, New York Times essentially had to have it in advance. Now I feel like we just know a little bit better about when they definitely had it by. I think this is proof that they had it at least before the 16th of December because they did have to develop this graphic. And by the way, it's really important who gave it to the media first, not who published it first, because the actual rule of professional conduct, Rule 3.6, which Blake Lively's team is trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team violated, in the part where it talks about when you can defend yourself, a lawyer can make a statement to protect their client if there's a publicity not initiated by the lawyer or the lawyer's client. Not initiated. And I think initiated is the important word. It doesn't say published, it says initiated. And if the New York Times started making graphics for their articles by the 16th of December, I think it is very clear who initiated the release to the media.
That is very important, especially when it comes to the gag order, because Justin Baldoni's team is taking the position of, we didn't initiate it. It is well within our rights to defend our client. But since Blake Lively's team is claiming they're the ones that initiated it, so they don't get to defend their client when they're the ones that initiated it. Now, this is proof that Justin Baldoni's team did not initiate this with the New York Times. And also, this is extremely damaging towards the New York Times because they're being sued by Justin Baldoni. And now let's look at this TikTok from It's Melanie King.
Messages that are embedded on the New York Times article, the whole Justin Baldoni, the original article that came out on the 21st. I did a video yesterday showing that the video that went with the New York Times that a lot of people had not seen, that the metadata showed that that date was actually on the 12th, December 12th, 2024. Not only is it in the metadata, but this is the actual URL, but we have an earlier date. So I got a message on my X account, which I'm on there, Real Melanie King, and a woman showed me that you can see the data within this embedded image. So as you can see, it's highlighted, right? So what I did was I inspected this whole thing. I opened it up on Google, and as you can see, there's like the metadata. But then when you get into the actual properties of this little text message image, you can see it's not an image, but it was actually done by some type of generator. The date for this generator is October 31st, 2024. Okay? Almost 2 months before Blake Lively filed her complaint and the New York Times article came out. So we're seeing something that is almost 2 months before was created in this generator. And this date is all over the place when it comes to this.
And that is incredibly important. That these dates are so important because remember, Blake Lively's team is claiming that Justin Baldoni was the one that leaked this story to the New York Times, and Justin Baldoni and his team are claiming that Blake Lively conspired with the New York Times to smear and take down Justin Baldoni. The only people that would have this complaint that early would be Blake Lively. And what has happened? Well, Justin Baldoni has amended his lawsuit against Blake Lively. It gives a nice little timeline of everything, right? December 20th, Blake Lively files her complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. If she filed it on December 20th of 2024, how did the New York Times already have it in order to develop those images, in order to embed the text? They must have already had it, which is proof that Blake Lively colluded with the New York Times to take down Justin Baldoni. Now, I'm only going to show you a couple of things in this amended form, but it looks like this was an email sent from Jamie Heath to the Sony marketing team talking about how people online are noticing how domestic violence is being glossed over and that Justin is the only one appreciating the subject matter. And they're letting him know that, we're opening with great numbers. It won't hurt the movie by being more deliberate in embracing the DV aspect. People need to know that we too recognize the gravity and sensitivities of this subject. And they show this, Blake's infamous TikTok.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals,
And this was sent on August 9th of 2024. Now, on August 11th, Jamie Heath follows up with an email to Sony expressing his gratitude for the team's efforts in making the film a box office success. And he requests that they schedule a call to discuss the film's messaging. The next day, on August 12th, organic articles emerged directly related on how Lively was promoting the film. These are the two articles that they put in this complaint. On August 12th, Wayfair, Abel, and Heath discussed yet another conversation between Wayfair and Reynolds, Ryan Reynolds. They share that Reynolds and Lively are furious with Wayfair and Baldoni for positioning them as promoting the film as a Barbie film while elevating Baldoni to speak on the more serious messaging. Reynolds and Lively purportedly believe that Nathan is responsible for this positioning and demand that Wayfair release a statement of contrition. So back then in August, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively thought that Justin Baldoni was conspiring against them. Way back then. And they wanted Wayfair to issue an apology, taking accountability for the negative press towards Lively and Reynolds. They warn WME that absent compliance, the gloves will come off. It says, in turn, Ryan Reynolds tells WME that he would personally draft a statement for Wayfair to release immediately. Ryan Reynolds would write their apology letter. The audacity, the entitlement that these fucking celebrities live. It says Heath and Abel are astounded that Reynolds and Lively blame Baldoni and Wayfair for their self-inflicted PR nightmare. That evening, two WME executives, Heath and Abel, participate in a call to review the statement drafted by Lively and Reynolds on behalf of Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfair. Upon review of this statement, WME rejected that demand, firmly refusing to issue any statement, falsely assuming responsibility for non-existent issues. And this was the statement. They have the statement here. Let's read it. This was the statement prepared by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on behalf of Baldoni, Heath, and Wayfair. It ends with us was a troubled production, which we take full accountability for. We are very sorry to everyone we caused upset to, privately and publicly. Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way. Any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. We mutually agreed that the cast would be promoting the film separately and understood why. Remember, Justin Baldoni did all of his interviews separate from the cast because that's what Blake Lively wanted. She didn't want Justin Baldoni anywhere near this film. She didn't want him on the red carpet. Blake Lively dictated terms on this entire production. And now she wants them to take accountability for that. That's fucking bullshit. We have always said that we are not perfect, and even if unintentionally make mistakes, we will always own them. We hold ourselves accountable. It's not anyone's job but our own, and that's part of being man enough. Are you fucking kidding me with the man enough? That's the name of Justin Baldoni's podcast, Man Enough. We will practice what we preached. We are learning and growing from the experience, and we thank everyone for their patience as we find a better way to proceed. We are very proud of the film and the welcome arms that it's been received. Part of our work is to have uncomfortable conversations for public growth. This film is doing that on the screen, and we are doing that off screen. Wow to that statement right there. You know, the uncomfortable conversations are about domestic violence and abuse in relationships, and this is essentially saying that, like, we're having those uncomfortable conversations off screen. Holy cow. Thank you to the cast and crew and public for the opportunity to be imperfect and to be given the space to learn and grow with humanity and dedication. Y'all, I don't know what planet Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are living on, but this shows the power dynamic. Blake and Ryan want to take like, oh, there was a power imbalance because Justin Baldoni is backed by a billionaire. We're the little guys in this situation. They're the alpha dogs. This right here shows that power dynamic. The gloves will come off if Justin Baldoni and Wayfair Studios don't issue this statement that we drafted. That's the power dynamic here. Justin Baldoni is the one that has no power, and Blake and Ryan are the ones with all of the power. The gloves will come off. It looks like the gloves will come off. That has rang true. That threat has rang true in this New York Times article against Justin Baldoni. They're conspiring with the New York Times to take down Justin Baldoni. The gloves clearly have come off, but you know what? I'm so glad that Justin Baldoni is fighting back. I'm so glad that they did not withdraw their lawsuit, but just amended it. They amended it to include all of this new information, everything that has come up to prove that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds Reynolds conspired with the New York Times to take down Justin Baldoni. I am so happy that they amended their lawsuit and that they are fighting back. It's no wonder that Blake Lively doesn't want to be deposed by Justin Baldoni's lawyer. It's no wonder that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds want this all to disappear. They want it to be dismissed. They want to put a gag order on Justin Baldoni's lawyer because this looks terrible on them. It really does look that the gloves came off and they conspired to take Justin Baldoni down, and they're abusing their power, conspiring with journalists over at the New York Times, Me Too journalists, in order to Me Too Justin Baldoni and try and take him down. They are despicable people and they deserve everything that is coming their way. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you guys think in those comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.